If you are the point operations person at a law firm, this video may be valuable for you. Let me start by asking you a question. How many leads contacted your firm in the last 30 days asking for help and fell through the cracks? When manual follow-ups depend on the receptionist remembering to check a list or write an email, and do this for every single lead every few days, we believe that's not a scalable system and could limit the potential that your law firm has for growth. For those who don't know me, my name is Javier and I'm the CTO at Parsing Strategies, where we work to help law firm owners and their team reclaim valuable time. Today, we're going to show you how to set up a tailored automatic follow-up system that reaches out to every lead that contacted your firm and hasn't yet booked a consultation. It sends them a friendly sequence of email, properly spaced out, and it stops the instant they book a call. And everything that decides what gets sent and when lives in a simple spreadsheet that your team already understands and can check in for reporting purposes. No code to maintain, no email ever sent twice, and once it's running, it runs every single morning on its own. Let's build it. We're starting in Airtable, where all your client data already lives. This could be any other CRM that you currently use, like Clio, MyCase, or any other. But before we connect any automation to it, let me first walk you through how this information is organized. Because the way we set up these fields is what guarantees that no lead is gonna get the same email twice. And that reliability is the whole point. Here's our leads table, where we have basic lead information like their name, their email, their phone number, their status, where they came from, etc. Now, the main fields I want to show you on this table are going to be the follow-up stage and the days since last contacted. Okay? If you take a look at the follow-up stage, we see that we have various options like none, and then we have a stage 1 sent, stage 2 sent, and a stage 3 sent. Right? So this is also going to help us know exactly at which point of this email sequence each lead is. All right? Also, if you go to the settings of this field, we can also see that each lead, as soon as they are added to this table, they get the none value as default. Okay? If you also want to check exactly how you can onboard clients on Airtable, we have a client intake pipeline video if you want to go check it out. Now, the day since last contacted. Okay? Now for this field, if we go to the settings, we're gonna see that this is a formula, okay? So basically, this takes and calculates the difference in days between the last date we contacted this lead, meaning the last date where this automation sent a sequence of emails, all right, to this specific lead, and today's date, all right? So that way also, we know exactly whether this lead is ready for the next sequence of emails, okay? But we're gonna see more about that when we get to the emails library table. Now, let's take a look at the pending follow-up view. All right. On our table, basically a view is just a filter list of the records that you already have on your table. Okay. In this case, this view follows 3 simple filters. All right. So if we take a look here, first, the lead needs to be active. All right. We don't want to be sending this follow-up sequence for those leads who we have unqualified or that we have already closed. Okay. So the status needs to be either new or contacted. Then the meetings count needs to be 0, all right? So the whole point of this email sequence is to get our leads to schedule a consultation. So the moment they do, all right, and they get added to the meetings table as well, then that meeting count will increase and they will be filtered out of this view. And finally, the follow-up stage. So once they've reached the 3rd email, once we have sent that last email in the sequence, they will be added the stage 3 sent status automatically, okay? And they will also be filtered out of this view, okay? This could be extended. You can use more than 3 emails, all right? Or you can change the filter as well to fit your needs. We're only gonna use this setup for this example right here, okay? So as you can see here, our leads on this pending follow-up view, they'll have the contacted status, right? And then we can also see that neither of them has had a meeting yet, okay? So the meetings count is 0. And then also the follow-up stage, none of them has reached the stage 3 so far, okay? So as I said, this view is gonna perform the primary filter. It's gonna determine which leads are gonna be fed into our automation. And then the automation itself is gonna perform a second filter to make sure that these leads are indeed ready to be sent the next email in the sequence. Now let's take a look at the last table. So in this case, we have our emails library table, all right? So in this case, we're grouping these emails by the email category, right? In this case, we call our email category our drip campaign, right? We can see that we have 3 emails right here, and each of them have a stage key, right? From a stage 1 to a stage 3. Each of them also has their own subject line, as you can see right here, and the email body. If you take a look at the email body, we can also see that we have these variables right here inside curly brackets. All right, we have the name and also the secure link right here. So basically, this is gonna help us so that when the automation runs, we can replace these variables, okay, with the right name of the lead that is being processed in that run, and also the specific link that you choose for this email. So you can see the email link right here. So you can use different links for each email, or you can use the same across all of them, huh? All right, you have full power of customization. And finally, what gives you the power over the timing of this sequence is gonna be the send delay value that you set right here. So as you can see here, email number 1 has a delay value of 1, meaning that this email is gonna be sent 1 day after the lead was last contacted, right? The second email is gonna be sent 3 days after the first email was sent. And then the third and final email in this case is gonna be sent 5 days after the second email in this sequence was sent. All right, so you have full power of customization. If you want to speed up the process, you can edit these values right here. And if you want to increase the delay between each of those emails in the sequence, you can also do so from here. So either you or your team members, your office manager or the marketing team member can have full power of customization from the speed of the process in this sequence, and also over the content of those emails right here from your CRM. Now let's open n8n. So here's our blank canvas where we will build our automation. In this case, n8n is the tool that does the actual work. You can think of it as the engine room that connects your database and your email. Runs automatically, on a schedule, and without anyone logging in. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is to create a trigger. Alright, so for that, we're gonna click on the plus icon right here, and then let's choose on a schedule. Okay, the time interval is gonna be days. The day between trigger is gonna be 1, so it runs every day. And the trigger hour is gonna be 9 a.m. Alright, so that we make sure that your leads get their email during business hours. Alright, so let's click right here, and then let's choose our next action. Let's click the plus icon right here, and then we can search for Airtable. All right, you can type it right here and then click on the logo. All right, then you'll see what actions are available. You see that we can create a record, we can delete, get, update a record. In this case, we're gonna choose the search records option. All right, so you can see here the settings for this action. The first thing that you need to do is create a credential. All right, so click on the drop-down menu right here, and most likely you won't have any credentials here yet. So you need to click on create a new credential. So you can see that the first thing that it asks for is an access token. All right, so let's create the access token. Let's go back to our Airtable base, and now let's go back and click on the top left corner right here, and let's go back home. Once we're on the home page, all right, now you need to click on the top right corner on your profile image, and then go to Builder Hub. All right, so once you are here, this is the place where you can create your personal access token. All right, in your case, you wouldn't see anything right here. So all you need to do is click on create a token. All right, once you click in there, you need to give it a name. All right, so in this case, let's call it n8n integration. All right, and now let's choose the scopes. So basically a scope is a permission. All right, so we're gonna give it the data records read and the data records write. So basically, we're given n8n permission to see and edit our records. Right, then finally, let's add a new scope, and this is going to be the schema basis read. Right, so basically, we're also given n8n the option to see how our data is organized. Now, this doesn't mean that we're giving n8n access to see all of our records across all of the tables that we have, right? For that, we need to provide the access. So you have two options right here. Okay, you have add all resources, which basically you're providing access to all of the tables and workspaces that you currently have, and all of the future ones that you will create as well. So that's not what we want in this case, and what we recommend is adding a specific base. All right, so this is gonna be the base where your leads and your emails library actually live in. Okay, so once you have selected that, let's click on create a token. Now that the token has been created, you will only have to copy it and then make sure to save it somewhere safe. All right, then click on done, and there you have your personal access token. All right, now the good thing about this is also If you don't wish n8n to have access to your Airtable data anymore, all you have to do is click on the three dots right here, and then you can always delete that token. All right, so you remain always in full control of the tools that have access to your Airtable data. All right, now let's go back to the workflow automation, and then let's paste this access token right here, right? And finally, all you have to do is click on save. Okay, so our connection has been tested successfully. Now let's finish configuring this action right here. Now we do want to search for a record, and now all we have to do is select our base. Okay, so let's click on this drop-down menu, and we'll see that we have our demo base right here. In my case, all right, in your case, it will be named differently, of course. And then we have to select the table. All right, now the table we want to select this records from is gonna be our leads table, remember? And then if we see here, we have an options section right here. So let's add an option, and let's click on view. So apart from getting the record from the leads table, we can also pull records from a specific view. All right, so if you click on the drop-down menu, we're gonna select the pending follow-up view right here. Okay, so this is what I showed you before. Okay, we're creating a view on our table so that we're only pulling the records, the leads that may be due for following up with them today. Okay, so as I say, this is a primary filter that we have. All right, let's close right here, and then right after that, all we need to do is click on the plus icon, and then now let's write loop right here. Okay, and we're gonna select the loop over items, and the batch size is gonna be 1. So let me explain that. What we're doing right here is basically all we're doing right here is saying, hey, every day when you run at 9 a.m., all right, search your records from the pending follow-up view, and then you're gonna process them one by one. All right, we're gonna do this so that every time a new lead is processed, it sends its email. We have to make sure that we update that lead correctly and it's handled properly before we pass on to the next lead. All right, so before we continue, let's test our workflow. Okay, so let's click on execute workflow, and let's see how it runs. All right, you can see how everything went successfully. So if you take a look at our search record right here, double click on it, and you'll see exactly that it returned all of the 3 emails that that we had on the pending follow-up view. Right now, also the loop over items, it did its job, and it iterated right over each of those leads that our search records action just returned. All right, as you can see, it went all over 3 of those leads. Now basically we need to focus on the next steps. All right, so like basically what are the steps that we want to take action on for each of those leads that may be due for the next follow-up in the sequence. So first, let's delete this right here, and let's replace this action. Okay, so let's click on the plus icon, and now let's write switch. Okay, so basically we're gonna use a switch action, double click on it, and basically this allows us to output different branches. Okay, so based on a set of rules, we're gonna create 3 different branches. Okay, and we're gonna route our leads appropriately depending on their follow-up stage. Okay, so let me show you. Now, from the previous step, meaning from the loop over items, you can see here on the left, let's choose the dynamic value of the lead that is currently iterating on. All right, so let's drag and drop, click here, the follow-up stage, and then you can drop it right here. So basically we're evaluating like what's the follow-up stage value for this lead. If this value is equal to none, okay, let's rename this output, and let's name it send a stage 1. Okay, so if we haven't sent a follow-up email to this lead, now I want to output this lead through the send stage 1 branch. Okay, and we're gonna do the same for the next routing rules. Okay, so again, drag and drop it right here, but in this case I want to know if this lead has the stage 1 sent value. Okay, so this is gonna be dynamic. If we've already sent the stage 1 to this lead, this output branch is gonna be called send a stage 2. All right, so you can see exactly where I'm going, right? And then finally, the third routing rule, you follow the same exact sequence, and we're gonna evaluate whether that status is equal to a stage 2 sent. Okay, if it is, then it's gonna go down the branch called send a stage 3. All right, if we close it right here, you're gonna see exactly what I meant. You can see 3 different outputs. We have send stage 1, send stage 2, and then send stage 3. All right, if we click here just to test this out, we can see exactly how our first lead right here that it's processing is gonna go down the send stage 1 branch because its follow-up stage is equal to none. Okay, so now that we know which path our leads are gonna go through, we need to get the right email template. Okay, so for that, again, click on the plus icon right here and then right again for Airtable. Okay, once you see it, click on it, and then from the actions, we're gonna select again the search records option. All right, for the credential, you've already created it. All right, you can reuse this credential across any of the Airtable actions. You don't need to create the credentials again. And then we're gonna select our base, the one that we provided access to. Okay, and then from the table, in this case, we're not gonna use the leads table. We're gonna choose instead the emails library table. Okay, now we need to get exactly a specific record from that table. Okay, we only need the email template only for the stage 1. So for that reason, I'm going to use this formula right here, and then it's going to look like this. All right, so let me show it. Now in this case, we're just evaluating for those 2 simple conditions. First, the email category needs to be drip campaign. Remember, that is the name that we gave to our email sequence on our table. And then the stage key needs to be equal to stage 1. Okay, this is how we make sure that we're only sending this email for the stage 1 of our email sequence right here. Okay, again, you can change this on our table. You can modify what email is going to be sent on the stage 1, what email is going to be sent on stage 2. All of that is modifiable through Airtable. This is only going to get the right email that you already set on your CRM. Okay, so let's close right here, and then let's execute this step. Right, so as you can see, we got specifically this email right here. We can see that the stage key is stage 1. It belongs to the drip campaign email category, and we can also see other information like the subject line, the email body specifically for this first email in the sequence, and then we can see also what the send delay is, and this is going to be very important in the next step. All right, now finally, let's go back and let's rename this action right here. So you can click on this step, and then you can click on the space tab and you can rename it. So let's name it get stage 1 template, and let's click on rename. All right, so everything is well named right here. And then, you know, getting the right lead through the appropriate path is just half of the workflow logic right here. Now we need to determine if that lead is actually ready to receive this next email in the sequence. Well, in this case, down this path, if it's ready to receive the first email in the sequence. So for that, we're going to add a new action. So click on the plus, and then let's add an if action right here. All right, so you need to click on it. Okay, and then basically, based on a certain rule, it's going to determine whether this lead is going to proceed, right? Or if we're going to return and then go now onto the next lead. So let me show you what I mean. In this case, let's close this input right here, and then let's open the option for the loop over items step. Okay, remember, we're gonna get the information from here because this is the step that is iterating over each of the leads, and it's gonna get the dynamic information for each one of them every time this step runs. So basically, we're gonna get the days since last contacted from here. Okay, so we're gonna evaluate the days since last contacted of the lead that we're currently processing in this run. And then from the get stage template, meaning from the previous step, all right, we're gonna get the send delay. All right, so you see how everything connects. Now here, what we're doing is basically evaluating, hey, are the days since last contacted the same as the send delay of this template? If they are, then proceed with sending the email for this lead. Otherwise, all right, return and go back to the loop and proceed with the next lead in the queue. Okay, so basically this is what we have right here. Okay, if it is true, and then it's gonna proceed. However, if it is false, what we need to do right here is take this false path right here, and then let's connect it back to the loop. Okay, so this is gonna allow us to if this lead that went through the send stage 1 branch does not meet this criteria, is not ready to be sent the first email in the sequence in this case, then go back and continue with the loop, right? It's very important that we connect it back to the loop so that it can continue running for the next leads that we have in the queue. All right, so now that you know the logic that our workflow is gonna follow, all we need to do is use the same logic for all of the other 2 branches. Okay, so for that, you can click anywhere on the canvas, if you see here, and then drag, so you can cover all of those 2 actions, and then you can hit Control D, right? Or Command D, depending on the device that you use, and you can see that we have duplicated this specific 2 actions, right? You can do Control D or Command D again on your keyboard, and you're gonna get another set of 2 actions right here. Okay, so we're gonna connect each branch to each set of actions right here as well. And so let's arrange it a little bit. Let's push this upwards. All right, let's arrange this 2 as well. Again, you can drag and drop them like this. And then finally, let's connect the 3rd branch to this 2 right here. Okay, now if you can see, the name is not correct, so let's rename it. Again, you can click on this action, hit the spacebar, and then you can rename it. Let's name this one Get a Stage 2 Template. And then this one is going to be, right, Get a Stage, right, Get a Stage 3 Template. Perfect. Okay, now before we continue, we need to tweak a bit of the settings right here. Okay, so if you see right here, click on the Get the Stage 2 template. All right, now if you remember the formula that I shared with you, and don't worry about this, I'm gonna leave this formula down in the description so you can copy and use it for your own. You would only need to adapt it to your specific case scenario. If your email category or your stage key options are named differently, you would only need to edit this right here. So in this case, for the Get template, for the Get the Stage 2 template, we don't want to get the stage key where the value is a stage 1. Actually, we want to get the stage 2 value, right? So we get the second template of that campaign that we have on our email library, right? And then we're gonna do the same for the Get a Stage 3 template right here. Okay, let's open it by clicking on this icon, and then let's do stage 3. Okay, so now don't forget to connect the false output back to the loop node for each of these branches right here. Okay, remember this is important because we don't want our automation to finish unless we have already processed each of these leads. So if any of these leads do not meet the criteria, we want to go back to the loop and now start processing the next lead on that queue. All right, so now before we send that email, okay, we need an additional step, okay, that will help us collect the information that we need, both from our lead that we're processing currently in this loop, and then from the stage 1 template in this case that we got. And it's gonna do the same for each of the templates depending on the branch, okay, and depending on the lead that we're currently processing. So for that, we're gonna use a code node. Okay, so you can click on the top right here on this plus icon, and then you can write the word code, okay, and click on the first option and then use this one right here. Okay, now first let's change the mode to run 1 for each item. So for each lead, I'm gonna do the same thing right here, and then let's paste this small code right here. Okay, so again, don't be afraid about this. I'm gonna leave this code down in the description. All you have to do is copy and paste, and if your fields are named differently, all you have to do again is change the name of the fields right here. Okay, so everything is also well explained in the comments right here in the code, right? So basically all it does is it gets the information from the current lead that we're processing from the loop step, just like we did in the previous steps as well. And then it also gets the information from our previous email template step where we got the right template for this branch. And then it outputs clear variables that are the ones that we're going to use for sending this email. So let me execute this step to show you what I mean. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a little trick here. So that every time we're going to test a new step that we add in our workflow, just so that we are not repeating the same call again and again from, in this case, our Airtable base, you can click on this step right here and click on the P key on your keyboard, right? And same here, right? We already have this information and that information hasn't changed, right? So next time we test a new step, just so that we're not calling Airtable again and again for the same information that we already have, just because we're testing a new step, you can pin this information right here. All right. So basically, this code node is gonna receive information from all three branches. Okay. So we're gonna use the same step regardless of the email template that we're going to send. All right. Let me click on here. All right, and let's execute this step. Right, so as you see here on the right side, we get the output. We get the lead record ID, meaning this is our way to identify which is the lead that we're currently working on. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. We're also gonna get the lead's email, so we know exactly who we're gonna send that email to. We get the recipient name so that we can use it in the next step. All right, so we know exactly what the email body is going to say. So you can also see the preview here. It says hi and the name of that recipient. So this is going to be dynamic depending on the client, right? So this is also what that code node does, right? Remember the variables in the Airtable email body field, the ones around curly brackets. So this is basically what it does. It gets that information and then it replaces it by the lead name. All right. And same with the link of that email, all right? The link in brackets, it also replaces that by the value of that email that you set that in your Airtable CRM. So again, if you want this to be different, all you have to do is change the values in your CRM in Airtable. Okay, and then finally we have this status tracking tag that you can see right here. So basically, once we finish this workflow and we have finished processing this lead, the last step of the workflow is going to be to update this lead. All right, and that's why we also have the lead record ID, just so that we can update it. And so, for example, if we just send the first email in the sequence, we need to update this lead to have a stage 1 send status, so that when this lead is ready again for follow-up, the automation can detect that, and the next time it runs and this lead is ready for follow-up, it can now send a stage 2 email for this lead, and so on and so forth for each of those leads. All right, now we're ready to send our email. All right, so we can close this right here. And now let's send our email. For that, click on the plus icon, all right? And let's use Resend to send our email. So type Resend on the search bar, select that right here, and then scroll down to the email actions section and select send a new email. Okay, now before we configure these settings right here, you might be wondering, why am I using Resend to send an email? And instead of using a single Gmail or Outlook action to send it out, right? So the thing is that for regular email providers, they're a black box, okay? Once an email is sent, it's gone. You don't know whether that lead actually received that email, if it went to spam, if they actually opened the email, or even if they click on any link inside that email, okay? That is why we're using Resend, okay? Resend was actually built for these use cases, all right? They provide analytics out of the box, and they also have a bunch of other features, such as creating and managing an audience, for example, for a newsletter, okay? Also, they provide the option to create a subdomain, right? So basically, what this does is protecting the reputation of your firm's primary domain. So if your emails start going to spam, or your leads block your email address for some reason, that could affect the reputation of your firm's main domain, right? So Resend also allows you to protect your domain when sending those emails out, okay? Now, once you've created your domain login and account, all you have to do is go into your profile and then log in and go to the domain section, all right? All you need to do is click on add a domain and then follow the instructions, okay? This is very easy to follow. If you don't know how to, you can contact your IT department, or if you're interested in implementing these sort of features for your firm, you can contact us and we'll assist you all the way to implementing the solution for you. All right. Now, the last step before we can integrate Resend with n8n will be to create an API key. All right. So similarly to what we did on Airtable with the access token, we need to create an API key here on Resend. Okay. So click on create API key. Give it a name such as n8n, for example, so we know exactly where this API key is being used. Okay. In this case, we're gonna give it full access. It needs this permission so that n8n can actually connect to our Resend account right here, and then we can select also the domain that we just verified. Okay. Now, once the API key is created, just copy it and save it in somewhere safe, as you will not be able to see it again. Okay, and let's go back to our n8n workflow right here. Okay, so on your credentials, click on the drop-down menu and then click on create a new credential, right? Similarly, all you have to do is copy this API and paste it right here on the API key field, and then click on save. All right, so the connection has been tested successfully, meaning that we are ready to send our email now with Resend. Okay, so as you can see, our code node in the previous step already output this data right here on the left that we can use to send our email. Okay, now first let's determine what's the from email address that we're going to use. Okay, in Resend on this node you can even set a sender name by following this pattern right here. You can first write the sender name that you want, okay, and then you add your email address, okay, using the subdomain that you have already added and confirmed within Resend, and it's going to protect your main firm domain. Now on the to field, let's use the lead email from the last step. Okay, we're also going to get the subject line right here, right? And this is why we're using that code node. Okay, it outputs simple variables from that information that we need, both from the lead and from the template, right? And we can also just easily drag and drop the information that we need. Okay, finally, the email format is going to be a text, and then the text content is going to be the final email body. Okay, if we open the text content right here, we can see a preview of what that email is going to say. Right, we can see exactly how the lead name is populated right here, and it replaces the variables that we had set on Airtable. And then also the email link right here is exactly the email that we're using for this specific email in the sequence. Okay, so finally, now let's try and execute this step right here. Okay, and as you can see, it happened successfully. Right, we can see right here, everything is green. Now, if we go back to Resend, all right, you can go to emails right here on top, and then you can see exactly the email that was just sent. Right, you can see the status that it was delivered, and you can see exactly what the subject line is, all right, and that it was sent less than a minute ago. Now, if I go to my inbox, right, you can see how I have the email right here, and if I click on it, I see exactly the email body that we set. You can also see the sender name and the from email address using the subdomain that we set on Resend, and you can also see that we get the exact same email as we just saw in the preview. All right, so before we finish setting our workflow, I wanted to quickly mention that Resend has a generous free tier that you can use absolutely for free, and they allow you to send up to 3,000 emails a month, and they have a daily limit of 100 emails. Okay, now let's go back to our workflow and let's add the last action that we need. Okay, in this case, it is also going to be an Airtable action. So look for Airtable and then select the update record action. Okay, in this case, again, let's select the base that we want to use, right? The one that we gave it access to, and then let's select the table. All right, in this case, it's going to be again our in this case, it's going to be the leads table for this case. All right, this is where the lead that we're going to update is living on. Okay, and then finally, let's match this lead with their ID. All right, we need to know exactly which is the lead that we're going to update. Okay, so for that reason, we're going to select the code node right here on the left, and then we're going to drag and drop the lead record ID right here. Okay, now we're going to delete the fields that we're not going to update. All right, we're not going to update the email or the name or the phone number. Their status, we're going to make sure that it's contacted. So if the lead was a new lead, we're going to make sure that it stays as contacted, right? And then we're not going to update the source or the matter type or the owner, nodes or meetings. We're only going to update the follow-up stage, right? So again, from the code node, we already know, right? What is the status that this lead needs to have depending on which branch it went through. In this case, since we sent the first email in the sequence, now we're going to change the follow-up stage to this value here from the code node, right? Which in this case is going to now be a stage 1 send, all right? Again, this is going to be dynamic. This is only going to update the lead that is currently processing, all right? And it's going to set the right status based on the email on the sequence that was just sent, so that when the automation runs again, it knows exactly where to route this lead, all right? And finally, the last contacted is going to be right now, meaning the date. I'm sorry, we're not gonna update this, meaning that this value right here is gonna be exactly the time where this automation just ran. All right. So basically, here on the top, on the bottom left, I'm sorry, you can click here, and then you can use this now variable right here. You can drag and drop it right here. Okay, and then so there are no issues with the formatting of the date. Okay, here on the options, use typecast and then allow this option right here. All right, just so that if the formatting of the date that we're using here in n8n is different than the dates that we accept in our table, then there will be no problem. It's just going to update that date with the current date where this automation just ran and send this email to this lead. Okay, perfect. So again, remember, this is also going to determine exactly the days since last contacted. Remember, this is the field that formula uses to know exactly how many days have passed since this list was last contacted. All right, so you can click on execute a step right here. Okay, again, email was sent, and we see how now this lead has been updated, and now the follow-up stage is stage 1 sent. All right, remember, this was the lead named Carlos Rivera. Okay, perfect. And then our last step is going to be connecting this output right here again back to our node. All right, let me arrange this down here. Okay, and basically there you have it. All right, so now before we finish this video, let's do a full demo of the workflow. All right, now before we do that, let's unpin these nodes right here. Just click on them and then press the key, the P key on your keyboard. Right, that way you unpin them. And then let's go back to our leads data right here. Right, so you can see in the pending follow-up view, the lead name Carlos Rivera. Now the follow-up stage is stage 1 sent. Right, before it was none. Remember, now we know that we send the stage 1 email in the sequence to this lead, and the day since last contacted is 0. All right, but now in order to do a full walkthrough again and demo, let's just go back here and then let's change to none. All right, now back to n8n and let's do a full demo of this workflow. Now let's execute the workflow again and let's see how it runs. All right, it runs very quick. Okay, so something that used to take perhaps 30-40 minutes a day or even more depending on how many leads. Now for these 3 leads, everything happened in less than 5 seconds. All right, you can see how every lead went through a different branch and each lead was sent a different email. Okay, we're gonna see that in just a bit. If I go to my inbox here, right, you're gonna see how I got 3 different emails. All right, so 3 different subject lines. All right, the lead name is also populated dynamically, and each of the email body are different. Okay, so this is gonna depend exactly on what you use on your CRM. Okay, so if you feel like you want to change the content of each of those emails, or you want the second email now to be the first one in the sequence, you have full control over that from your CRM. All right, so finally, if you go to the Resend tab, I'm sorry, we're gonna see exactly how those 3 emails were rightly delivered to these 3 leads right here. Okay, all right, so now if we go back and check our leads data right here, we can see how now we have only 2 leads pending. All right, now in this case, Carlos Rivera was again updated to stage 1 sent, Anna King was updated to stage 2 sent, and our last lead, James Wilson, was updated to stage 3 sent. All right, and based on our filters, that lead was filtered out of that view. All right, that means that we have already sent the whole email sequence to that lead, and it gets filtered out of this sequence. And that's the system. It runs every morning, follows up with every pending lead, and steps aside the moment that they book a call. Now, this automation does one thing that matters more than anything else. It puts you and your firm in control. Now, the system works for the firm and not the other way around. If you're the managing partner or the heads of operations at a law firm and would like to implement these solutions in the tools that you currently use, there's a link down below in the description where you can book a free discovery call with us. So if you like this video, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.